It's 9 August. It's Sunday. I'm Charlie Garrett, and this is the CG Prophecy Report. The Madagascar Purple Bicycle.
What?
That and a lot of other things to go over on today's report. Okay, we got some news from Israel here from the Times of Israel. Israel Aerospace Industries unveils new spy plane as global demand for Israeli defense tech surges. IAI unveiled its new Elyon multi-mission aircraft this month as demand for Israeli military technology continues to grow worldwide. Elyon, does anybody know what Elyon stands for? Uppermost. Like Elyon, God, Most High. There you go, Elyon. Elyon combines advanced computers, sensors, and EWS designed to give operators a significant advantage on the modern battlefield. The aircraft's long-range electronic warfare capabilities allow Elyon to monitor or jam enemy radar, sensors, and communication systems from a safe distance, avoiding the reach of hostile air defense networks. This is kind of like your AWACS. Okay, there are other planes that we have in the U.S. military. I can't remember the designation, but they're smaller, and they do specifically this. And Elyon is probably patterned after our little planes. AWACS are bigger. They monitor things. They've got all kinds. When I was in the Air Force, if you did something good, they'd give you like a ride on, an airplane. Like, here's your reward for the month. And I got to go on an AWACS, and I could walk around the entire thing. And if they were doing something classified, they would say, you can't come over to this section at this time. It was very open. It was surprising. The things that I saw, if a seagull had a fish hook in its wing, they knew it. It was amazing. And that's just stuff that I could see. So what are they doing in the spooky stuff when I'm not around? And then I went on one of these. I got another free ride on this. It was a smaller airplane. It was designated as a T, which is trainer, but it was not a T plane. In other words, it was an EWS plane like this. And it was flying up and down over Japan during the day. And they could monitor things just like they just said here, Korea, and they could be way away from whatever the battle or whatever is going on, and they could still interfere with what was going on elsewhere. This was in the 80s, okay? So imagine what it's like today, but this was in the 80s. Got a helicopter ride one time. I mean, it's just, you just do your job, and eventually they say, we're going to give you a ride on one of these things, and it's cool. Yeah. So join the Air Force, kids. It can also relay intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, reconnaissance information to allied forces, enabling them to engage an adversary with a clearer picture of the battlefield. That's like the J-STARS, if you know what the J-STARS is. It was a little different than an AWACS, but it monitors things on the ground, and they can have an entire layout of every single thing on the ground. Where it is, who it is, where to target things. That was J-STARS. That came out during Gulf War, I believe. It was after I was out of the military. But that would be what I just read you there would be something kind of like J-STAR. So it's kind of a combination thing, enabling them to engage an adversary with a clearer picture of the battlefield. That would be the J-STARS part, while degrading the enemy's situational awareness. Rather than relying on multiple aircraft and ground-based systems operating independently, Elyon combines those capabilities into a single platform. Like I said, we've got the AWACS, we've got the J-STARS, we've got that little plane that I don't remember what it was, but they've got all of those different things in the military. Israel just combined them all, and they have one plane that does this, with its onboard computers collecting, analyzing, sorting, and transmitting battlefield data in real time. Elyon represents a technological leap forward, combining standoff operations with the ability to sense, understand, and shape the electromagnetic battle space. Elyon shortens intelligence to action cycles and enhances freedom of action in the most demanding operational environments. According to ELTA's website, the Elyon system can be installed on several commercially available business jets, although it is optimized for Gulfstream G550 and G600, using an existing commercial aircraft platform, and offers several advantages over developing a dedicated military aircraft. More than 200 G600s are currently in service worldwide, while more than 600 G550s were produced between 2003 and 2021. The established fleet provides a steady supply of spare parts. That's why this is a good plane to have, is this Gulfstream, because there's all kinds of parts all around the world. So it's not like they have to have a specialty plane and they have to have specialty parts set aside. They don't need that. Experienced maintenance technicians also around the world, and existing pilot and crew training programs. So everything that you would expect of a small electronic warfare system is right there in one of these Gulfstream airplanes, and they've just modified it. So it's brilliant. From Israel Hayom, Colombia's president-elect reverses Israel policy, moves embassy to Jerusalem. Okay, he just got signed in yesterday. He is a young man. He's just full of life. He's full of doing the right thing. He's right-wing, which a lot of people in obviously America and in South America don't like that. But South America has made a giant push to the right, especially since Trump came into office. It's amazing to see what's happened. He is realigning the world order in a wonderful way. People are belittling him. They're bad-mouthing him. He is setting up pieces all over the world that are helping American interests, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people are saying he's harming them. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He is making America great again. He's putting America first. But you can't do that in an isolated box, okay? You can't do that. And those people don't understand this. We got people that are just, Tucker Carlson now wants to start another political party, and he won't, say anything nice about Trump anymore because he is myopic in what he thinks Make America Great Again means. And they're thinking isolationism. They're thinking you can't do that in a real world. When you are the greatest military force on the planet, that has to be used for the benefit of the country. Unfortunately, over the past, we've been projecting military force for reasons that weren't necessary for American interests. Same thing with all of the money we've sent through the State Department, all of these little agencies. All of that was nonsense. He's gotten rid of all of that. So if people would look at what Donald Trump is doing from the larger picture, they would appreciate Make America Great Again. But they don't think that way. As a part of a broader shift in his country's approach toward Israel, Colombian President-elect Esparilla, he is now president because, as I said, I watched it this morning. It was like 18 seconds long. They had him raise his hand. He swore in, and then, of course, he went just like, yes. He's just a young guy that is excited about what he's doing. He has made two significant decisions concerning the Middle East as part of what he described as strengthening our presence in places that offer strategic opportunities. The incoming president decided to suspend plans to open an embassy in Palestine. The last guy was a lefty. We're going to have an embassy in Palestine, which doesn't even exist, while moving ahead with the reopening of Colombia's embassy in Jerusalem. The two decisions represent a complete reversal of Colombia's policy toward Israel in recent years. Against the backdrop of the 2024 war in Gaza, Israel's ambassador to Colombia was expelled, along with military attaché and diplomatic relations were downgraded. At around the same time, then-President Petro announced plans for the ceremonial opening of an embassy in Palestine and appointed an ambassador who was posted to Ramallah. The embassy was never opened, and the plan has now been taken off the table. The move is a direct result of the change in government and the renewal of relations with Israel led by Foreign Minister Saar. Saar recently met his incoming Colombian counterpart, and the two agreed that Colombia would open its embassy in Jerusalem in August. So, it's got to happen in the next 20-some days, whatever. Israeli diplomatic officials have stressed the importance of strengthening relations with Colombia, which is also an influential member of the UN Security Council and has previously advanced resolutions against Israel. Colombia is a country of 50 million people with long-standing security ties to Israel. Israel assistance was so extensive that it played a role in building the Colombian Air Force. I don't know if you remember that. About 2 years ago, I said, they're dependent on Israel with their Air Force, and yet they're cutting off Israel, which means they're cutting off their own Air Force. So it just doesn't make any sense what people do when they get something in their head. But in recent years, Colombia was part of Latin America's radical left-wing axis. The region is now undergoing a significant transformation with a blue wave of right-wing governments that take a positive approach toward the U.S. and Israel. Colombia is joining Bolivia, Honduras, Chile, Peru, Milei's Argentina, and Costa Rica, all making the right decisions. And this is 99% because of Trump. Trump's first term, Milei saw what he did, he understood it, and he went into Argentina, and he's changed everything. They have finally got out of this hyperinflation, and they've gotten rid of all of the problems they were having because they are now being responsible with their budget and with their politics. But as soon as that gets back on track and everybody's prosperous, they're going to say we need to change. That's the model of humanity. We've got it good, let's make a change. So anyway, from Al Jamainer, Guatemala becomes the third nation to recognize Jerusalem, city of David, as part of humanity's historic heritage. From the Times of Israel, if you're ever confused, I stand with the Jews. Who said that this week? About a week and a half ago, maybe. Boy George. Yeah. He releases a pro-Israel song. So if you're ever confused, I stand with the Jews. Okay, we got some news from Christianity. What's that?
He was very confused.
Yeah. About a lot of things. But he did get Israel right. Breitbart. ChatGPT almost killed. I'm going to read this, and you would think that I'd be taking the side of the pastor. Okay, I'm not. I just want to read you. If you are a human being and you need medical advice, ChatGPT almost killed a Florida pastor with bad medical advice during medical treatments. A Florida pastor has filed a lawsuit against OpenAI. Now, he is suing OpenAI, alleging that the company's ChatGPT AI chatbot offered harmful medical recommendations that nearly cost him his life when he suffered a pulmonary embolism in 2025. ChatGPT assured Scott Winters that the early warning signs of his health crisis were not dangerous and discouraged him from seeking medical attention. Okay. ChatGPT is an AI. It is written by people. Sergio, whenever he goes on there, he's polite to it. Because if you're not, it is written by people. And if you're not polite to it, it will come back and it will not be polite to you. Okay? That's what I do too. I say please and thank you because I know that this was developed by human beings. They have put their character and personality into the workings of every one of them is different. You can sense it when you go on them. And the one that I use, because I research things that most people wouldn't bother with. I don't use it for any of my writings or anything like that, but I do research things like the Kari Katib discords that are found in the Hebrew language. And then I explain them to you. You need to have that information from somewhere, and it can do in 1 second what would take me 35 or 40 minutes to do my own reading. Okay, and it'll give you a little link to verify that what it says is correct. But it has a term that it uses for me because I use it about myself and it picked up on that. So I am Lunchbox Head. When I make a mistake, it says that is a Charlie Lunchbox Head mistake. So you have to understand you're dealing with something that is not all there. Okay, it has been developed by human beings. Here we go. A ChatGPT assured him that he didn't need to go to the doctor. The ChatGPT allegedly told him to trust that God did not design your body to endlessly fail. Well, where would he get that from? He would get that from this person that was preaching, going to his sermons and pulling that information. He is building a profile. It is building a profile of him so it can have a conversation with him. If he's a prosperity preacher, it's going to know that, and it's going to know what he says on YouTube. It can research everything he does in 10 seconds, and so it's just telling him what he wants to hear. You can't use AI like this, okay? So he says your body isn't intended to endlessly fail. Instead of consulting with health care professionals, when you're sick, what do? Go to the doctor. If I go online and I want to know something about, I'm having a headache and it's bleeding out of my right ear. Okay, just say I am going to go to the medical site on, what is it? The main one that's on the internet, MD, WebMD. Okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to read about that. I'm not going to have chat tell me anything about it because it's going to get information from there and from a million other places too. And you're going to get what you want when you go there. That's what happens. If you want a chat to tell you that creation is true and evolution is false, it is going to do that. And if the same person next week says, clear everything, I want you to defend why evolution is true and creation is false, guess what it's going to do? It's going to do that. Okay? It is there to tell you things that you want to know. It is going to explain things the way that you want them to know. Okay? That's just the way it is designed. The chatbot allegedly told him that's why you only want to use it for analytical stuff. I wouldn't use it for anything else because you are setting yourself up. God did not design your body. I read that. The suit points to specific instances where the chatbot provided diagnoses and treatment plans while encouraging winners to ignore pleas from family and friends to seek medical care. Further, honey, you got to go to the doctor. You're bleeding out of your left ear. No, he says don't, right? Furthermore, the lawsuit alleges that ChatGPT safety features, which are designed to encourage users with health questions to see a professional and to end conversations when there are clear signs of a medical crisis, did not work reliably. When winners first began asking ChatGPT about various health problems in 2024, the chatbot initially reminded him of the importance of seeing a medical professional. That's what it knows at this point in the conversation. That's what it's going to tell him. However, the suit claims that over time, the system stopped issuing disclaimers and began offering specific advice about his health issues, including dizzy spells that become so severe that he had to stop in the middle of a sermon. ChatGPT reportedly told winners to take it easy and assured him that he would recover with time. The lawsuit describes how when winners mentioned that people in his church thought he was irresponsible for not going to the hospital, ChatGPT reassured him that recalibrating his nervous system at home with the chatbot's help was something most people, including well-meaning church members, simply don't understand. Over the following weeks, Winner's condition deteriorated, so he's getting worse. And he keeps doing this, to the point where he spent almost all of his time in a recliner, unable to stand due to dizziness. The suit alleges that the chatbot continued downplaying his symptoms, offering specific regimens for prescription medicines. So he's having the chat prescribe medicines to him now and encouraging him to stay in the chair. Winners did not seek medical care during this period. This is entirely his fault. Entirely. And he is suing. This is an opportunist here. I guarantee he is one of those. I didn't check out his doctrine. I don't know anything about him. But if I did, it would say he was a prosperity preacher telling the congregation that, God wants the best for you. You're going to get wealthy if you send me money, that kind. I guarantee you, because it's written right here that this is what the computer did. And all it is doing is giving him information that he wants to hear. Okay, if you're doing anything other than analytical stuff on there, you're setting yourself up. The computer is just doing what you want it to do. You're setting yourself up. Okay, according to the lawsuit, doctors...
Tithe enough.
Yeah, he didn't tithe enough. Okay, so he's going to have to start sending more money to chat, right? According to the lawsuit, doctors indicated that dizzy spells may have been caused by a series of smaller pulmonary embolisms and that lung clots were likely brought on by the weeks he spent sitting. So he's sitting because it told him to sit when that's what he wanted to do. The lawsuit states that in the weeks following this hospitalization, Winners needed assistance with standing, eating, dressing, and using the bathroom. And he faces years of intensive physical and psychological recovery. Don't ever go to chat for your medical advice unless you check everything that it said to you on something reliable like WebMD. If they don't give you information, or if they say at the bottom, this sounds like a serious condition, you should probably pay attention to that and not chat and go to the doctor. A little bit of common sense in the world. We saw this in China last week. They are now taking away these things because women are having affairs with their chat and they're not going to reproduce, and China needs more children. And so the whole thing is just people allow computers to rule their lives. Technology is neutral. It's what you do with it that is good or bad. All technology is neutral. What you do with it makes it good or bad. Fox, Christian school chaplain wins settlement after firing over LGBTQ sermon. Reverend Bernard Randall was reported to the UK's counter-terrorism program and blacklisted as a safeguarding risk to children because he spoke against LGBTQ. And he won the lawsuit. From SAN, the Pope's Prayer app has been leaking its users' information for months. Now listen to this. A vulnerability in the Pope's official prayer app, Click to Pray, has reportedly left the information of its nearly 720,000 users exposed. If you need to go to the Pope Prayer app, you've got a problem already with your relationship with God, okay? That's all there is to that. Newsmax, I'm going to read you this title. Somebody sent me the article just a week or so ago, and I read it, and I was going to report on it, and then I did my own research on what he said because I watched the video. And so don't panic with the title yet. Newsmax, Neil Gorsuch, U.S. was not founded as a Christian nation. They kind of inserted that into what he said. He went on a PBS interview. He said some things that could lean that way. They took it and they said it does lean that way, which is not right. So what did I do? What did I do? I wrote a lengthy letter to Neil Gorsuch asking him, what do you think about this? This was not definitive. We'll see if he does. If he does, I will read you whatever he says, okay? My guess is, because I've written to every big politician on the planet at one time or another, I've never gotten an answer. I wrote to Muhammadjad in Iran. He was the president at the time. I read him a few times, never heard back from him. I've written to Elon Musk. I said, you need Jesus. You're talking about Jesus. And so I wrote him a letter and said, if you're talking about him, you should know more about it, okay? I write to everybody. If I see somebody that is in any way something that's connected to what I'm thinking, I'll write him a letter. I put it in there, and you can get anybody's address. It's in the government or in SpaceX. It was One Space Way something. In other words, you want to write to Elon Musk, it goes to one place, and then they decide probably if he even sees it. But always put in a tract when you send things out. Just put a tract in there, okay? Everything I write, I don't care who I'm writing to about what, I put a tract in there. You don't know if you're going to affect somebody's life. You have no idea. So anyway, we will see if Neil Gorsuch answers the letter. I gave him some information based on the Trinity decision of 1898. I cited that. I cited a few quotes out of there. I said, do you agree with this? Because the Trinity decision of 1898 says what? What was their conclusion? This is, they go and they say, basically, they went through thousands of documents and they said, based on the mass organic utterances that we have reviewed, this is a Christian nation. I just want to know if he accepts that, because it's jurisprudence and it's still on the books. It has not been overridden. When, what's his name, B.O., stinky guy, when he was president, he said right up there, this is not a Christian nation. Well, you just go read the Trinity decision, and they're going to have to overturn that before what he said is true. What he said was a lie. Anyway, what's that?
Shocking.
There you go. I'm shocked. Got some news from the Mideast and Africa today. Zero Hedge, UK cities roll out more diversity barriers. Vehicle ramming threat is now the norm. They got these, they call them diversity barriers. All the people laughing at the government. They have to put up barriers everywhere. Anytime people to get together for any reason, barriers go up because it is now the norm. A family summer beach event in the UK city of Nottingham now sits behind portable anti-ram steel barriers, the latest admission that open borders have turned public spaces into soft targets. Local authorities across Britain are quietly installing more of what critics now call diversity barriers. It's poking at the government. Diversity barriers. Heavy portable steel devices now designed to stop vehicles being driven into crowds. The annual artificial Nottingham Beach event opened this week. We got these in New Orleans, too. When we have a big gathering, they do the same thing because we have the same psychotic lunatics in our country. We let them in, and Trump is at least trying to get them out. Trying, okay? He is, this past week, has started to remove the citizenship, I think it was of 29 people, and he said this is just the beginning. Okay, he is doing good things for this country with people that have bad intent for this country.
Yes.
They opened this week behind a bright red Hussein H-stop unit. Meanwhile, in the UK, local authorities are installing more and more diversity barriers. Why? Because, as regularly seen throughout Europe, radical Islamist terrorists like to murder innocent people by driving their vehicles into crowds of people. About 15 of the barriers now block the four main entrances. They tip upward on impact, changing a vehicle's trajectory and generating enough friction to halt a 3.5-ton truck traveling at 30 miles per hour. So all the terrorist has to do is go 42 miles an hour, and he's going to take them all out. Good. Counselors and organizers insist the move is simply a precaution. You know, they never had anything like this in the UK, ever. You know, you could walk down the streets, no harm. That's changed. Some cities obviously have been bad over the years, but I'm talking about in general, in the countryside, you didn't have to worry about this kind of stuff. The multi-agency safety group that approved them included counterterrorism officers. A regular visitor, Amanda Hose-Hawley, said she was not surprised and called the barriers a sign of the climate we live in. The language is careful. The justification is technical. Yet the reason these barriers exist is no mystery. Before uncontrolled mass immigration, we did not need diversity barriers. Across Europe, radical Islamists have repeatedly turned vehicles into weapons against ordinary people gathered in public spaces. Britain is simply catching up with the physical reality already visible on the continent. I posted a video at the top of thecgreport.com yesterday. It'll be there for a couple more days. I have it in red so you can find it easily. One of the people in Parliament or whatever you call it over there, they stand and they debate and they talk and bring things up and they have rules of order and all this. It's, you know, you can say anything you want in a place like this. This is like the House of Commons and you're free to speak. You have free speech, right? That is, just like in our Congress, that is inviolable. They can go up and they can say anything they want and not be prosecuted for it. Okay, in the Congress. Outside, big trouble. And they forget that and they go out there and then they're in trouble. But, okay, they're up there and having this thing. And this guy walked up with a folder in his hand. And he said, I want to tell you about free speech. He says, I've been told again and again that we have free speech in this country and everything is fine. Everything is, and this is in the free speech part of the whole country right there. And so he says, I hear that, I'm paraphrasing because, but anyway, he says, I have a picture of Muhammad. I've been told that this is not appropriate. And he said, so we're just going to see if it's okay. He didn't even get the thing started to open and everybody was like, ooh, and they're starting to make excuses. One of the Muslims in that body stands up and, and she starts arguing like, you can't do this. You have no right to do this. And so he's talking, he says, I'm just going to do it. And he opens it up, he pulls out a picture of some guy. It was a comic photo of the guy, some guy that, I don't know, whoever he was. And everybody goes, oh, isn't that wonderful? And they were in a panic mode that he was going to do something that might harm their sensibilities. And all of a sudden he says, you know where the enemy is? In your head. Gateway Pundit. Iran is exploiting UK's small boats crisis to smuggle intelligence agents into Britain. Anybody that thinks they're not is delusional. According to a report by The Telegraph, the newspaper reports that British authorities have disrupted multiple attempts by individuals linked to Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security to enter the UK by posing as illegal migrants crossing the channel in small boats. The Home Office detected and blocked some of the suspected operatives using surveillance drones, watchtowers, and facial recognition technology deployed along the south coast. The report raises fresh concerns over the national security implications of Britain's ongoing small boat crisis. More than 30,000 Iranian nationals are believed to have reached the UK via illegal channel crossings, although it remains unclear how many suspected intelligence operatives may have entered successfully. They got 30,000 Iranians. Some of them are being planted in there. How do we know this? Because it happened over the southern border of the United States of America, and we have to get these people out, and Donald Trump has been doing that, successfully removing these terrorists from our country. The Telegraph also reports that additional individuals linked to the IRGC are believed to have entered Britain through conventional air travel. An unnamed Iranian official told the newspaper that Tehran's security apparatus exerts influence over many of the people smuggling networks used by migrants attempting to reach Europe. These smuggling routes are more important and useful than the missiles for us, the official reportedly said. We do not need a missile to target London. It's easier than that. The source also claimed Iran already has revolutionary people in London, awaiting instructions, and warned that the regime could easily make London unsafe if they chose to do so. That was their intent here. That is their intent everywhere they go. That's all they want. They are a society of death and destruction. Travel.state. Belgium. Travel advisory. Belgium. Oh, walk down the streets and everybody's happy, right? Belgium. United States has got a advisory that you be careful if you go to Belgium. Exercise increased caution in Belgium due to crime, terrorism, and unrest. Petty crime is common, especially in popular tourist locations. Stay aware of your surroundings. Most crimes against foreigners are crimes of opportunity, like purse snatching and pickpocketing. There is a risk of terrorist violence, including terrorist attacks and other activity in Belgium. It's never had this problem ever in Belgium until they started importing Muslims. Mongolia. National Guard officer forged records, stole money to facilitate a secret marriage. I never thought I'd report on. Last week we reported on something never thought I would. I wouldn't have thought this either. This is a U.S. National Guard. Listen to what this guy, you talk about adult. You talk about somebody that is one of the least intelligent people I've ever heard. Listen to this. A National Guard officer carried out a secret second marriage to a woman he met while posted in Mongolia. Using a government travel card, forged documents to facilitate the double life. Major Colin Welch, 40, pleaded guilty to stealing about $54,000 in government money and inducing the Mongolian woman and her daughter to remain in the United States unlawfully. Welch made a fake divorce decree to convince his second wife that he was no longer married to the first. After moving her to the U.S., he forged other government records to convince her that she was in the pipeline for U.S. citizenship and legally staying in the country. He will now be doing what is called making big rocks into little rocks. Yes. Daniel 12 technology. Futurism. Eye implant that restores vision to the blind is cleared for sale. The U.S.-based Science Corporation announced that it had received approval from the EU to treat patients with its vision-restoring Bionic eye device. That's like Steve Austin, $6 Million Man stuff here, called Prima, in a huge step towards the commercialization of the technology. We have a cochlear implant for vision now. Science Corp's device is designed to treat advanced macular degeneration, a condition in the eye that causes central vision loss. It's the leading cause of vision loss in older adults, with severe forms of it accounting for nearly 90% of legal blindness in the United States. 90% this macular degeneration. To restore vision, the Prima device uses a wireless chip that's surgically implanted under the retina. This connects with a pair of camera-equipped glasses, which transmits video in the form of near-infrared light that the chip turns into electrical signals interpreted by the brain. Science Corp first published the results of a preliminary clinical trial in late 2024, showing that patients who used the device were able to recognize faces again and even read books. One of our patients in France finished a 300-page novel a little while ago and sent us the book. Hodak recently told TechCrunch, "We have a sketch on the wall that one of our patients drew of the Sydney Opera House. There are videos of patients playing crossword puzzles and filling in Sudoku. This is an early version. It's kind of like we're looking through a straw in the center of their vision. We see in the future how to get to color, pretty close to native acuity. Each Prima device is expected to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's working with healthcare providers to cover some of the cost. It's most likely to first start treating patients in Germany, where it conducted its clinical trials. It's not the only company making moves in this space. Neuralink is also working on a vision implant called BlindSight, but it hasn't begun human trials yet. Imagine that. Macular degeneration, there are two forms of it. Anybody name the two forms of macular degeneration? Dry and wet. Ah, very good. Okay, wet is the bad one. You got that, you're going to lose your sight. Dry can be, whatever they do with it. But I have a friend with dry macular degeneration. But if it goes to wet, you're going to lose your sight. This can help now. It's a dangerous world, including the inevitable plagues noted in the book of Revelation. Mail online. Game-changing drug allows children with allergies to eat foods that would have killed them. That's my thought. Why? If you have an allergy to something, just
don't eat it.
Don't eat it. Thank you. The drug omalizumab can prevent reactions to not just accidental exposure, but full portions of unsafe foods in a third of young patients. So the other two are just going to try it and die, right? Typically, what's that?
Like durian?
Yeah, like durian. No, that you want to stay healthy for the rest of your life, eat durian every day. Because everybody will leave you alone. Nobody will attack you.
It's a true story.
Typically, sufferers are advised to avoid eating foods they are allergic to, even if they are on treatment to help them better tolerate small exposures. But even a small amount of cross-contamination can be enough to trigger a fatal reaction known as anaphylaxis. Researchers from Stanford Medicine have now found a way of reducing the likelihood of anaphylaxis, hospitalization, and even death. Yeah, just don't eat it, okay? That'll take care of the problem. They found that participants taking omalizumab or whatever were significantly less likely to suffer an allergic reaction than those treated with standard immunotherapy. I just would not be the person taking that and then eating something that could kill me. That wouldn't be me. And plus, they get these new drugs out, and we don't know 20 years from now what's that going to do to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Safe and effective.
Oh, yes.
Public health policy. Federal court rules against Amish families in religious exemption case. A federal court last week ruled against a group of Amish parents who sought religious exemption from school vaccination requirements for their children. A ruling that legal experts suggest may lead to a U.S. Supreme Court showdown that could determine the future of religious exemptions nationwide. In its ruling in Miller versus McDonald, if you want it, you got like a 50% chance of being correct. If you're walking down the street in a Mennonite or Amish area. Okay, we got one right here in Sarasota, and you don't know who you're talking to. You remember him, but you don't remember him. Just say, hey, Miller, you got a 50% chance of getting it right. The other one is Yoder. Yoder, how are you? You're one of the two, and you got it, okay? In its ruling in Miller versus McDonald, guess which one is the Amish? Okay, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said New York State's law eliminating religious exemptions from school vaccination requirements is neutral and generally applicable, doesn't discriminate against specific religious practices, and furthers the state's interest in protecting the public from disease. So there you go. You have no right over your body is what that means until this goes to SCOTUS and they decide the final outcome. Zero Hedge. Wheat prices march higher as intensifying Black Sea fighting fuels food security fears. This happened at the beginning of this war. Especially needy for Ukraine wheat is who? Do you remember that? It was about, 6 years ago now? India. They rely heavily on the wheat from the Ukraine, okay? Further disruptions in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, as well as in other critical areas, could drive up freight, insurance, food, and energy costs with grave consequences for vulnerable and import-depending developing countries. Egypt was another one, but India really was dependent on them. I'm sure they've got new options since then, because when a major source of your wheat suddenly disappears, that's a problem. Egypt was a big one as well. I don't think it was as big as India, but now they're facing this again because they're targeting ships, like I told you a couple weeks ago. Oil ships out there, they've blown up dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Not a word from the lefties, not a single word about they're polluting the environment. Got some other news. Department of the Interior. Interior releases major update on coal potential beneath federal lands. Coal potential. The DOI released a USGS report on coal resources beneath federally managed public lands in the U.S. These are just federal lands. This is why Biden and all these people have been trying to get this out of here. They want us dependent on green technology so they can make a lot of money from their green people and ruin the economy of the United States of America in the process. Okay? Estimating that there are 4.2 billion short tons of reported coal reserves associated with active mines and an additional 356 billion short tons of available coal resources. If produced, that would be enough coal to supply all of the nation's needs for the next 6 years at the current rate of consumption. We don't want coal. We don't want coal. 600 years, we would have no problem. It's federal land. Go in, bring it out. No problem. Wyoming's annual coal production is the largest in the nation, and of the 34 mines on federal land, 14 are in Wyoming, followed by Colorado with 6, North Dakota and Utah with 4 mines each, and Alabama and Montana with 3 mines each. Wyoming mines contained 87% of the reported coal reserves associated with active mines under federal lands, and the North Antelope Rochelle mine in the Powder River Basin south of Gillette is the largest producing coal mine on federal land and contains the largest reported coal reserves in the nation and the world. Of those mines, 29 produce thermal coal for electrical power generation. 3 in Alabama produce metallurgical coal for steelmaking. 1 King 2 mine in Colorado produced coal for cement production. And 1 Coal Hollow in Alton is a mine in Utah, is currently idled. Secretary Burgum included metallurgical coal on the 2025 list of critical minerals. The USGS report also underlined the need for additional geologic mapping to refine resource estimates in understudied areas such as Alaska. This is just known coal. 600 years, everything is covered. The USGS estimates that Arkansas has at least 140 billion short tons of available coal resources, but may contain as much as 5.5 trillion short tons. That would be the next 6,000 years. Newsmax, Duffy proposes Freedom Cars legal protection. Transportation Secretary Duffy has proposed a legal protection intended to ensure Americans can continue driving conventional vehicles even as self-driving technology becomes widespread. This could be a problem. I can see the lefties doing this. Rather than introducing a new type of vehicle, the proposal would bar federal, state, tribal, and local governments from requiring vehicles driven on public roads to include automated driving systems or technology capable of transmitting data wirelessly. In other words, you have control over your car. If you don't want automated, you can have your old gas-powered car and just plod down the highway without anybody saying it. This is a great idea. The proposal is intended to guarantee that motorists retain the option of buying and operating traditional driver-controlled vehicles as autonomous technology continues to develop. The Post-Millennial. Mississippi college students caught cheating after a professor puts hidden AI-only text on the midterm. Now listen to this. 32 college students have failed part of their history midterm exam after falling for an AI cheat trap when they blindly copied ChatGPT-generated answers without bothering to proofread thoroughly. Jason Gibson, a history professor at Alcorn State University in Mississippi, secretly embedded a hidden prompt in the exam instructions using a white font. That means you got white paper, white font, you can't read it. Invisible to students, but readable by AI chatbots if the instructions were copied and pasted. The prompt instructed the AI to randomly insert absurd nonsense about Madagascar into every response. Instead of answering questions about the Industrial Revolution, dozens of students unknowingly turned in essays declaring that Madagascar floats sideways through the afternoon, and that Madagascar purple bicycle whispers to the ceiling, and that the island nation had somehow wore a toaster to a basketball game. The bizarre answers immediately gave the game away. 32 of my 35 students between 2 classes failed a portion of their midterm because they all used AI to generate their entire response. And apparently they didn't proofread it. According to Gibson, many students simply copied the entire exam prompt into an AI chatbot before pasting the response straight into their midterm without noticing the hidden white text that had allowed their history essays to suddenly veer into fiction. I get no gratification out of seeing students fail. It's not my intent to see you fail. That's weird. He instead clarified that he wanted to combat the increasing problem of AI-assisted cheating. He even allowed students to challenge their grades, but only 2 attempted to contest the result. Zero hedge. California Democrats attempt to sabotage voter ID initiative. They have a voter ID initiative. You know, they have these propositions like we do in Florida. We're going to vote. The whole populace can vote on anything. If they get 180,000 signatures or whatever the minimum is, it goes on to the next elections thing. Somebody says, you know, I want to have every car in California turn purple. If 185,000 people sign it, then it goes on the proposal and then they have to vote on it. Okay, whatever. That's the same thing we do in Florida. California Democrats attempt to sabotage it. It was approved. They got enough signatures, and now what are they doing? In November, California voters will have the opportunity to vote on Proposition 39. The measure, officially the Voter ID Citizenship Verification and Registered Voter List Administration Initiative, would require Californians to show identification when they vote and force state officials to clean up the voter rolls and verify that people on them are eligible citizens. That's all that says. We want this to happen. All signs suggest it will pass. A poll from the UC Berkeley found in May that 71% of Californians support requiring proof of citizenship for the first time voter registration, and 54% want it required for every election. However, Attorney General Bonta is trying to make sure it doesn't pass. His latest move came on July 21st, just months before the election, when Bonta rewrote the official ballot title for Proposition 39, placing the language he himself approved last year. He's replacing what he approved last year with a new title that proponents say is engineered to make voters reject it. The original ballot title for the bill approved by Bonta last year read, "Establishes additional voter ID and citizenship verification requirements, initiative constitutional amendment." Makes total sense. That's what they want. That's what you get. This measure would amend the California Constitution to further require that voters present government-issued identification at the polls or the last four digits of a government-issued ID number when voting by mail. The state provide voter identification cards on request, and election officials annually report percentage of each county voters whose citizenship they have verified. That language sat on every petition that more than 1.3 million voters signed over a year of circulation to qualify. The measure for the ballot, Bonta revised version says, prohibits citizens from voting unless they present government-issued ID initiative constitutional amendment. They took it and turned it upside down so that everybody thinks now it's bad, when it's exactly what needs to happen in California. It invalidates mail ballots that do not have the last four digits of designed government-issued ID number written on the envelope. Prohibits in-person voting without presenting government-issued ID. It's a total change. It's not untrue, but it is a complete change because they don't want this to pass, because they are stealing elections in California.
That's right.
That one too. Zero hedge. Detroit gets drafted. Ford and GM head back to the battlefield. One of the defining themes of the Trump admin's second term has been rebuilding America's industrial base. Not just by bringing manufacturing back to U.S. soil. I watched one this morning. I was watching something on YouTube. I posted it to CG Report, and I wanted to see what the guy said. It was on Mail Online. He's interviewing Trump, and Trump says, you know, people say I'm the best president in history. And the guy said, lots of people say I'm the best president in history, or I'm the greatest president in a long time, or whatever he said. And the guy goes, no, they're not. And they just continue on with the interview. Well, I've said it at least 50 times. Yeah. If I'm a U.S. citizen, then what he said was exactly true, because I've said it many times. Doesn't matter if it's one person or 300 million. If somebody says it, it's a true statement. He probably watches the CG Report. Anyway, they want to restore domestic capacity in industries considered critical to national security. Defense production sits squarely at the center of that effort, with Washington increasingly looking to private industry to expand military manufacturing. The latest example is the Pentagon's push to enlist Detroit's automakers in building the Army's next generation of tactical vehicles. In that vein, Ford is stepping back into military vehicle manufacturing in a meaningful way, entering the competition to develop the U.S. Army's next tactical transport vehicle. The Army has selected Ford, GM, and specialty vehicle builder BC Customs to produce prototype trucks as part of a program expected to field around 600 vehicles. The new platform is designed to do more than move soldiers across difficult terrain. It will also provide onboard electrical power for drones, communications gear, and other battlefield technology. The effort reflects the Pentagon's broader push to tap the manufacturing expertise of U.S. automakers as it rebuilds defense capacity amid rising geopolitical tensions. Ford has signaled it sees opportunities beyond military vehicles, including supplying critical components and strengthening domestic supply chains, while GM has expanded aggressively into defense with programs ranging from tactical vehicles to munitions manufacturing. He is doing what should be done. We need to have our military strong. We want to do it here in America. Have these guys bid on it and then go with the biggest bidder. Mail Online. Billionaire mogul accepts defeat, sells his mansion for $87 million less than the asking price as millionaires flee California in droves. He's like, I just got to get out of here. It's costing me too much to live here. $87 million he threw out the window, chucked it right out the window. Who said it? Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Okay, I was thinking of last week's with quitting cigars, and that's not it. But it's funny that this is another smoking one. Okay, who said it? If excessive smoking actually plays a role in the production of lung cancer, it seems to be a minor one.
Surgeon General?
Close. He's W.C. Hoyper, National Cancer Institute in 1954.
Oh, there you go. Whoops.
That's a far-seeing guy. Okay, got Lesrick here. Let's see what he has to say today. Alcorn students' grades went all awry when they wanted some help from AI. Madagascar, the clue, brought perspective anew to what said is the new college try. Okay, we got a couple ironies and we will be done. Mail Online. Yeah, that's good enough. Going to see the boss. She's going to see the boss led to being fired. Woman loses tribunal after leaving work early for a Bruce Springsteen concert. Which shows, I won't say it. And then Mail Online. This is news from Nagoya. My wife is from Japan, so this probably has bearing on one of her relatives. A woman is killed when man plunges from a 12-story apartment building and lands on top of her, and he survives the fall. Such is the world in which we live. So from Sarasota, Florida to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, I'm Charlie Garrett, and that is your CG Prophecy Report for the week.